There we are on Psych Ups with Brian. I bet you were wondering where I was. I was setting up a new little spot. I like to add a little variety once in a while. Guys, it is World Listening Day, so I'm going to talk about that. But I'm going to talk about maybe the most important thing, one of the most important lessons I learned about getting deals done. And I see some of you guys getting stuck at one part in the deal. And I'm telling you, there's something that could really help you with this one aspect. Okay, so I'm going to address that. And that aspect, I want you, here's my advice that I want you to take. Okay, so once you get a deal, once you've talked to a seller, a lot of you guys will get to the point where the seller seems like, you know, they're interested. They haven't said no. They may be open to monthly payments. And remember, that's our primary goal. Unless you guys have 20% down and can go and get some kind of external financing, if somebody tells you they want cash for a house, you know, that's not really within the realm of possibility for you to do unless you either have an equity partner, somebody who has some money who can help you, who can come up with the 20% down in the financing and you can cut them in on the profit. Or you got to have 20% down to get a rental loan on this property. And then the property has to go through an appraisal and some other aspects. So if somebody wants cash, and you know, it's a different deal. Now, if they'll take monthly payments, but they want a down payment, that's a little bit different thing. That's, you know, we can sometimes work with that and do some creative things with that. And sometimes they only want a bunch of money down because they don't trust you yet. And once they get to know you a little bit, they will ease up on the money down, skin in the game issue. But here's where a lot of you guys are getting stuck is you can see the deal kind of there, and you can sort of sense that there might be a deal there and they haven't told you no on monthly payments. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a contract. Okay, so write that down, guys. Write the contract. Write the contract that you would pitch to the seller. And a lot of you guys will get to the point where you'll say, well, I've got a lot of leads that are kind of floating around, but I'm not getting them to the finish line. Start writing contracts. Okay, this is the standard purchase and sales agreement. Everybody should have that, you know, that paperwork, and have it in a way that you can type it out. All right. Now I have this, I broke down the standard purchase and sales agreement into a three-page document. If it originally comes as a two-sided legal page, one sheet, but legal size and two sides. And you know what? It's hard to print. People don't want to mess with legal size paper, and it's a mess. So I broke it down into 3 letter size pages, and it's just easier to manage. Okay, so with that, I took the section 1 is where you're writing all the terms. So I went in there and I made a separate little box and made it very clear which things. Sometimes it's hard to tell from over here what's over here. So I just made it super clear. Okay, and so that's on the version I edited. So hopefully you've got that one. But that's the 3-page version that's on letter size. So I want you to type the agreement. And oh my goodness. There we go. That wasn't too long, right? Okay, so here I am. And so today I want to talk about something very important, which is where do you guys get stuck a lot of times in the deal? And where a lot of times you're getting stuck, you'll get some leads and they won't say no. And you will get, you know, anytime you get someone who you propose monthly payments, could you possibly take monthly payments? And they don't say no, that's a deal that's in the running. But sometimes you get a lot of those that are kind of floating around and you don't know how to get them to the finish line. And I'm going to give you the best tip on getting that done. One of the best things I learned in my entire career of real estate. And one of the places that we really learned this was when we went and did home visits. Lynette and I used to go out and actually go to people's areas and go out on appointments with them. Okay. And you know, what does that force you to do if you're going out on a bunch of appointments? And not all of them are really rock solid appointments. Some of them are kind of like, you know, well, they're not saying no, but they're not saying yes yet, but you want to do a lot of appointments. So what do you do when you have a lot of appointments is you write a lot of contracts. So that is the key, and write that down. I want you to go to the contract. I want you to start writing out contracts. So this is your standard purchase and sales agreement is the form that I want you to use. I have a revised version of it that has that actually has a 3-page letter size version. So I like that a lot better. It's easier to print. It's easier to work with. So yeah, we have a letter size version of the standard purchase and sales agreement. Now, all the terms, everything you need to figure out is in section 1. Section 1 and 2B. Any financing, any seller financing that you list under 1E, you have to tell them how you're going to pay it back in 2B. All right, so that's the trickiest part of the whole agreement is 1E and 2B, figuring out, you know, the seller financing aspects. If it's a subject to, it's not too hard. You just put it all under 1G, and then your purchase price is under 1H. All right, so if you are kind of in the middle of like talking to someone and they might be interested or they might not, you know what's going to make it real for you and what's going to push you to take it to the next level is writing it up. Okay, write it up. So grab a standard purchase and sales agreement, write it up exactly how you want it to look like, how you would like that deal to go. You already know a lot of things. Sometimes you know what they want for a purchase price. You're not sure if they have wiggle room on it, maybe. So, you know, write in what you think would be the best price. Now, if you get an actual purchase price from them, you remember, the way we go for purchase price is first we say, do you have any wiggle room on that price? We don't want to come off too tough on the opening call, but in the closing call, we'll say, you know, if we work this out and if we work this out and close whenever you want, what's the least you'll take? So now remember, when you're going for price, when you're buying some ugly distressed house for cash, you say, if we pay all cash and close quickly, what's the least you'll take? This is different. You're looking for terms here. So we say, if we work this out and close whenever you want, remember, sometimes they still live in the house. If you say close quickly, they click, they're not interested. And you don't even know why they hung up, okay? So if we work this out and close whenever you want, what's the least you'll take? And then you figure out the purchase price, okay? Now, hopefully you're doing that on the closing call before you go out to the house so that you can write in whatever they say. And remember, if you don't like the number, you say, is that the best you can do? And so you get a number in there and you write it in before and you type it in the agreement. Again, typed agreements is a huge thing to me. It looks so much more professional and you go out there with so much more confidence when the agreement is typed out. So the way we have it set up with the 3-page on letter size, you can type in, it's very easy. I have a separate little box and everything, and it's very easy to type in all the numbers. So type in, you know, $100 under 1A because that's your binder deposit. Type in whatever the seller financing is under 1E, okay? And then you'll be, you know, under 1G, it's if you're buying it subject to, and then the total purchase price is under 1H. And then whatever seller financing you write in under 1E, you have to explain how you're paying it back under 2B. So if you are kind of floating through a deal, you've talked to the seller a couple of times and you're not sure if it's going to go anywhere or not, write it up. Like I said, write it up just how you want to see it, and that will make it seem real to you. And then you'll say, wow, okay, so this is the deal I have. And if I go pitch this, and if the seller says yes to this, I think I can do this deal. Okay. And, you know, that's what I want you to do. And a lot of you guys aren't writing contracts. You know, you'll get a lot of leads kind of floating around, and how many contracts per month do you write, even if they're not going through, you know, but even if you get close, you should write the contract just for practice. Okay. And you don't even have to print it. You can, you know, it's on a Word file. You can type it up, but yes, print them up and look at them and read them over and get more used to working with the standard purchase and sales agreement. The more familiar you are with that, the more you fill out, even as practice, the more comfortable you get with it. And the more you say, wow, with this one piece of paper, I can buy a house. So that's a really important piece of paper. It's also World Listing Day, by the way. So I want you guys to be good listeners when you're talking to your sellers and buyers, and listen to what they say. Now, your standard purchase and sales agreement, again, I want you to use, we have a really good letter size version of that. Good morning, Jennifer. I know you guys are going to say no sound, right? Morning, Jennifer Figueroa is here, and Charles E. Awesome. And Jennifer, and Serene Knight, Skyline, yes. or a wholesale deal at a significant discount to make sense. Yes, if you're talking to now, listen, guys, when you are looking for, if you have a seller deal that you feel like it's a deal, but the seller wants all cash, and somehow you think there's a deal there, there's not. Okay, unless one of two things, unless you can come up with 20% down and qualify for some kind of financing to buy the house, because that seller is not going to do monthly payments. They want all cash for that house. And even if they're offering you a screaming deal, if you're paying all cash, you got to go by the Mayo formula, which is basically 70% minus repairs. So are they going to sell you a nice, brand new or pretty good looking house for 70%, 70 cents on the dollar? Well, even if they say yes to that, you still have to get the financing. You still have to find, you still have to find the 70%. And if you are not able to currently qualify for, a loan like that, or come up with 20% down, the other option is having an equity partner. Okay. And if you have an equity partner in a deal, they're going to want at least 50% of the profit if they're risking their money, and they're going to want a massive spread on that property. I mean, they're not going to want to bring in and finance some deal unless, they're going to make a really good return on the money they're risking. And here's the thing with these long-term deals. If you're bringing in an equity partner on a long-term cash flow deal, you better be sure there's some pretty good cash flow in there, because half the reason they're doing it, they're going to want to split the cash flow with you too. And so, if there's only $300 a month of positive cash flow on the deal, that's not too exciting for any investor. They're saying, so I'm going to have 150 positive cash flow, and I just finance this whole deal for 150,000 or 200,000 or whatever it is. So again, that's where the equity partner is kind of tricky. So again, if people want cash, and if they want to cash out of that property, it's probably unlikely, unless you can qualify for a loan and it's a really, really screaming deal, that you're going to end up buying that property. Now, if you hang around and they get desperate enough, hopefully they come to the point where they would be more open to taking monthly payments, maybe for a small down payment that you can put together, a $5,000 or $10,000 down payment, and they can live with that. Okay. But there's a lot of times even when we're getting monthly payments, it's not a nothing down deal. So it is good to have a little bit of working capital. A lot of times the seller will want $5,000 down or something like that. And, if you can do that, that will get you the deal, and sometimes buy you a lot of equity. For $5,000, you can buy, 30 grand in equity sometimes. Okay. So again, just a crash course on deals today, go to the contract. If you think you have a deal, and I'm very good with you going to the contract super early. Okay. I mean, go to the contract right away. I mean, as soon as you talk to the person on the opening call and it smells anything like a deal, just write up the contract. I mean, not only will that crystallize the terms for you, you'll realize, okay, what are the terms of this deal? Now there's 4 terms in the contract that you got to write in there. Okay. Number 1 is the purchase price, and that's 1H. That's the total purchase price. You're going to have that binder deposit under 1A, whatever seller financing under 1E, whatever subject to under 1G, and total purchase price under 1H. And don't forget to add the binder deposit of $100 to your purchase price. Okay, that H under 1H. So purchase price is number 1. Number 2 is monthly payment. That's worked out in 2B. 2B says what the monthly payment's going to be. Now, if you buy it subject to, there's nowhere on the contract that you have to write in monthly payment. If it says under 1G that you're buying it subject to, you do not write in anything under 2B. We're just assuming that you're taking over the existing mortgage, and we're not even going to talk about the terms of the existing mortgage. Okay, so if you're doing a subject to deal, don't go writing in any terms in 2B. That's only if you're writing something under 1E. Okay, so a 1E, obviously, that's where the seller financing is. So if they're giving you seller financing, if they're doing a wrap on an existing mortgage, or if it's a free and clear house, you're going to write the whole number there that you're paying them 1E minus whatever down payment you might have to give up. Down payment's going to be under 1C. Okay, so hopefully, you can keep that down payment to $5,000 or less, sometimes nothing down. Remember, if they owe close to what the house is worth, you're going to ask them, will you sell for what you owe? And if anybody says yes to will I sell for what I owe and yes to monthly payments, that's the ideal perfect deal. Okay, yes, I'll sell for what I owe. Yes, I'll take monthly payments. That's your nothing down. That's when you buy a house for closing costs. And for that, that's the only kind of deal that you need nothing down. You don't need to go into the business with any money. But a lot of deals, you got to keep looking for deals like that, because you're not going to just trip over deals like that every week. So again, that's when you do enough marketing to find deals like that, and talk to enough people. All right, so purchase price, monthly payment, length of term is also written in 2B, how long they're going to do the seller financing for, and that's where you'll write in a balloon payment if they want that, which is okay. But hopefully they have no balloon payment. Again, if you buy it subject to, don't write any years or anything in anywhere. You just assume that you're taking over that mortgage for the rest of the mortgage term. Okay, and then purchase price, monthly payment, length of term, and down payment. Again, down payment is also in 2B, but it's also listed on 1C. So under 1C, it's going to say what your down payment is to the seller. So that's it. I want you to go ahead and go, and why wait? Even if you just first talk to somebody and you don't think, oh, I don't know, they're very iffy, just for practice, go fill out a contract. And it's amazing how when you start filling out contracts, you start getting deals, because all of a sudden you have a piece of paper that's all filled out and you go, so all I'd have to do is go over to their house and sit down, walk through the house, do the house tour, take some notes on features and fixes, sit down at their kitchen table or dining room table, go through this agreement, have them sign at the end and give them a check for $100. And I own that house. So again, guys, it starts to make it more real when you start writing contracts. And if you haven't written a lot of contracts, even just practice ones, then it's that one big step seems like a bigger hurdle. And it seems like, wow, I can't seem to get to that point where I'm getting contracts signed. That's because you're not writing any up. Start writing them up. Okay, so that's my big tip for today. It is World Listening Day. Now, there's two reasons we listen. Why? We listen to build rapport with our customers, and they're not going to trust us and leave the mortgage in their name and take monthly payments if they don't trust us. So you listen to build a rapport with people and build trust. And the other reason is to find out their hot buttons. If you let them talk, they'll tell you why they're selling. You'll ask them, now, can I ask why you're selling? I don't want you to say, why are you selling? Not in that way. The way it's written in the script is, can I ask why you're selling? Just the can I ask softens it. So, hey, can I ask why you're selling? And they say, well, because blah, blah, blah. And that gives the reason. And also another thing is, do you know where you're moving to yet? That's another one. And how quickly do you want to move? All three of those questions give you information that's crucial to you getting that deal done. So it will give you a sense of their, excuse me, it will give you a sense of their urgency. And so listen to the answers. If you don't listen to the answers and write notes, again, you can be a great listener, but if you don't write notes, you're going to forget what you heard, because you're going to talk to a lot of people and you're not going to remember all the little details. So always take 60 seconds after you hang up with somebody to furiously write all the notes you can remember from that conversation. And I'll tell you that if you're a good listener, you're going to close deals because of that, because you're going to have heard things that are tip-offs of of their hot buttons, and you're going to have built great rapport with them. All right, so I talked about a lot today. I know. So thank you guys for keeping up. Okay, and 3-page is much better. Yes, okay, and 1E and 2B. That's right, guys. That's really the most important parts of that contract. And the 3-page letter size contract is just easier to work with, because you can print it easier. You don't have to switch the paper in your printer, which is a big drag. Yes, ask for the sale and then write it up. And guys, even if they're iffy, even if they say, well, let me go talk to my wife, or let me think about it for a couple of days. Nobody asked me this before. I have to consider. Whatever they say, if it smells like it might be a deal, take the time, fill out a contract. And it's amazing how many times when you have that contract written out, it just seems so real to you. And you say, so all I'd have to do is just get them to sign right there. And, this is a deal. Yeah, it is. So it gets you excited when you fill out your contracts. It builds your enthusiasm and your motivation. And write it into manifestation. I like that comment, Charles. People visualize and then manifest. What you focus on is what you manifest. And when you're writing that contract, that's exactly what you're doing. You're manifesting the deal, that deal is going to happen. So, yeah, okay. Oh, guys, you were watching in the background? Oh, I didn't. That's funny. Okay, they were walking up and down behind me. Yeah, they're cute. That's Mars and Saturn, guys. That's Mars and Saturn, our little cute Shih Tzus. Yes. And the number will tell the story if it's a deal or not. Yes. And that's the whole thing. When you write it up, that's the other thing. When you write it up as a contract, all of a sudden you realize if it's a deal or not. And so if you think, well, this is a good deal, but you have not really comprehensively viewed that deal yet until you write the contract. Boy, when you write that contract, it's all of a sudden you go, oops, wait a minute, this is not a deal. This doesn't cash flow, or something that seems kind of obvious, but until you crystallize it in writing, you don't catch it. So putting it into the contract is vital and very, very helpful. So that's my big advice for today. Write it up and see what happens. And a lot of times things will turn into deals that you weren't sure would. Okay. So, all right. So guys, let's have a great weekend. Let's get some great appointments. Let's see if we can get out there and write some contracts and present some contracts this weekend. Anything that you got close, that's my advice for today. Anything you got close, I want you to write it up today. Anything that you think could be potentially a good deal, I want you to put it into writing and see if you can get it in front of a customer this weekend. On Saturday's always the best day for investing. People have the most flexibility and they have the most time and stuff. So let's do that, everybody. Let's have an incredible weekend, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Now, our affirmation for today is write it up. I write it up. Okay, I write it up. Okay, 3 times on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I write it up. Yeah, I write it up. What do? I write it up. Yeah, guys, writing it up is going to get you there. So I want you to get out there, write it up, and that is that step that maybe you've been missing. And now if you think to yourself, wow, I haven't written a contract in a long time or ever, that could be the issue. Okay, so start writing them. That will build your belief. It'll build your machine. Let's do 3 deep breaths. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, I went so late today, guys. So long, but this contract thing, it's important. Inhale. This one step can really literally make the difference between you getting deals or not. Okay, so, and it's the step that people are kind of nervous about, but when you get more used to it, it's amazing how it helps your confidence. Okay, ready? Good job, and exhale. All right, everybody, great job. Great day today. Let's all have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Give me your great reports. And Lacey, when you watch this, I'm trying to get a hold of you. You have a lot of deals that you sent me some information on that I want to talk to you about. So I will try to touch base with you today. All right, so guys, everybody, have a great weekend. Keep expecting success, getting awesome training from the Wolf Couple, and taking action.